muted. There we go. Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? I think we are. I need someone to confirm in the comments if we are live, and then we will go and talk about this Devils win. Okay, Justin Carpenter says, "Gotcha. We are live." Okay, we got commenters in here. Guys, what a whirlwind of a Devils game. It was a 5-3 victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning, but at some points it felt like some points it was dominant at the beginning, especially there. About as dominant as a first period as you'll get, as you'll see from the Devils. And then at some points, you're on the edge of your seat there. I wanted to use a different term, but I guess I shouldn't go there. I'm going to start this episode by showing you guys something, okay? This right here, it's a plush dumpster fire, okay? And that's what I think that the comment section would have looked like, a dumpster fire, if the Devils blew this one, because we already heard it after that first opening game against the Carolina Hurricanes, where things looked, more of the same. They looked like last year's playoff series. They looked like 2 years ago's playoff series, and then you come out and you blow it against the Lightning. But obviously, the Devils did not do that. They hang on the backs of that strong first period. Again, as strong of a first period as you will see from this team this year, and some great penalty killing at the end, and just some great defense overall at the end. And my God, Jesper Bratt with the shorthanded goal. All right, let's recap a little bit. So we got so again, 5-3 victory for the Devils. Timo Meyer scored. Connor Brown scored twice. Nico Hischier scored. Jesper Bratt scored. And Arseny Gritsuk got 2 points in his second NHL game. He is officially at a point per game pace. I'm Ryan Novozinsky. Thank you for joining us here on Speaking of the Devils. Let's kind of get into it, guys. Let's get into it. Oh my gosh, a lot of comments already. Let's go through and see what some of you guys are saying. We'll try to answer some of the comments off the top before I dive into my notebook here. I think I like this comment from Christopher right here, where he just says, "What a game that was," and I agree. Like, that was kind of a really a roller coaster of a win for the Devils. Gutsy win, Novo, scared me a few times, but proud of the boys for coming out strong. Yeah, listen, like, I think the Devils have a tendency to, at least since I started covering them, back even in the Lindy days, they have a tendency sometimes when they get these leads to play with their food a little bit. Even when they get some of these strong starts, which I feel like they're more of a feel it out team, and then they kind of adjust, like you saw that last game against Carolina, whereas this time was one of those rare, they're strong from right out the gate. They play with their food a little bit, and that's what, when they do get those strong starts. So, you want to see a little more consistency. You want to see this team really step on the throats of their opponents and try to, try to finish these games strong, because when the system works, it works. You saw that in the first period. When the Devils are on their game, they're a defensive force. They're obviously an offensive force, but they can be strong in the defensive end as well. I think the biggest note that I have, like, even just from that first period, is that they can be a team like Carolina. They were a great forechecking team. The Devils were in that first period, at least early on. And the Hurricanes we talk about, they're not as physical as you would think. They're just, tenacious and relentless on that forecheck. The Devils can be a similar team like that, but with a little bit more of offensive firepower, right? That's why I picked them to go to the Stanley Cup this year, because I think that they can evolve into a team like that this year. And this is a good, that first period's a good showing of what can happen there. Yeah, Freddie, nails it right here. Markstrom not inspiring a lot of confidence for me. Guys, it's time to have a discussion about whether the Devils should extend Jacob Markstrom or not. Listen, I think that there's you kind of live with the goods and the bad with Markstrom, because the goods are really good when he is at peak level. He's always one of those guys that you see at the top of those charts that say, like, saves above expected, everything like that. Because he does, he can steal you some games. He's an ice tilting goalie. That's, when I wrote about him 2 years ago, that's the way, or sorry, last year, that's the way that I described him, an ice tilting goalie. There's a reason Fitzgerald described him as the big game hunt that he went to get. But right now, for a guy that's 35, 36 years old, seeking an extension, I don't know that you could have you had some strong signs in that first game, yeah, but I would say maybe from the second period of Carolina on, it's pretty ugly start here for Jacob Markstrom wanting an extension. I haven't even dived into the numbers tonight. Of what those goals save above expected, stuff like that, which very much paint a picture of if a goalie stole a game or not. Markstrom certainly did not tonight. But let's see exactly what the number was there. Minus 0.82. So he obviously gave up more goals than was expected of him tonight, and you can just tell that just based on the pure shot numbers alone. I mean, I think at one point it was 2 goals on 9 shots. I think it was 3 goals on 15 shots or something like that, something ridiculous like that at one point. Not a strong showing from Jacob Markstrom tonight. I don't blame you if you're not having the utmost confidence in him tonight. Um, Okay, Cranman here says that Markey was so last October too. So maybe he's just one of those goalies that is it's like it's kind of like how Timo Meyer plays. Like I feel like at the beginning of years, Timo Meyer is always streaky, and then he goes on these unbelievable runs like later on in the season once he kind of gets a feel of things. Um, Maybe Markstrom's the same way. I haven't dived deep into the numbers too much to know that, but that's good research fodder for me. I've learned from every goalie that I've talked to in the past. I remember Vitek Vanacek used to say this. It's if you are in a game where there's X, the shot number is in the single digits for most of the game. I think there was a stretch. MSG broadcast tonight said there was a stretch tonight where Markstrom didn't face a shot for over 18 minutes or something like that. Goalies can't stand that. You get cold, right? You get rusty. It makes sense, right? It totally makes sense. But for Markstrom, I'm sure he's just there was definitely some rust there. But again, just that stat line alone, like to have 2 goals when there's just 9 shots on goal, to give up 2 goals when there's just 9 shots on goal is never a stat that you want. Let's keep going in the comment sections a little bit here. Um, okay, basic guy. The king of the comment section is basic guy. I'm just gonna. You get your crown now. People should aspire to be basic guy in these chats because this guy is on fire. Timo looked like a beast tonight. Yeah, he definitely did. I from what I understand, I can't remember if I'm remembering this right or not. I think that he led the team in shot attempts last game. I was glad to see Timo get rewarded for kind of that, that shoot first mentality going into this one. He's keeping sort of that production he had last year at the end of last year. Keep riding that momentum, so to speak. This is a guy that on that Timo goal. Like I think a lot of it was set up by Nico. He drove down the ice and drove through the slot and really single handedly kind of created that opportunity. But for Timo to be right there and cap that off, I thought was a good sign because I wasn't you know, I think that line had a pretty quiet game to start, and maybe that was just Mercer because I focused in on Mercer a lot last game, but I think that line needed a little bit of good grace after what was a pretty I think other lines were more noticeable than them. Football Grump, the co-host of the great Giants Nation show, he says Brat or Shorty, and he spells it like Wawa does. My favorite restaurant. Got that. Damien says got that dub. Woo, let's go Devils. There you go, Damien. Bratter has been such a fast starter. Yeah, listen, man. I I I think we need to just spend a second here talking about Jesper Bratt and the penalty kill. This guy is a beast, man. His quickness. Not all like we all see the zone entries. We all see how creative he can be with some of his feeds and just his puck handling skills in general. But Brat on the penalty kill is just such a delight to watch, right? That play where he intercepts the puck, the broadcast mentioned it. He sprung out of nowhere. He was a snake in the grass that just sprung out of nowhere, bat out of hell, steals that puck, intercepts it, goes through two lightning players, and rushes down the ice to score the shorthanded goal. That was the dagger, man. Those are the kind of plays that you want to see, especially down the stretch. Early on, we'll see. Like it could just be hot start, but Brad has proven that he's been able to do that. Like he's been so consistent on the penalty kill, and for him to make an ice tilting play, I'm gonna use that term again, ice tilting play like that on the penalty kill is just such a good sign for him. Um, Luke beating the Luke beating the Thanasis. Obviously, as you guys may or may not know, Thanasis is Giannis Antetokounmpo's brother. Luke. Yeah, now I'm on basketball. Luke beating the Thanasis allegations, as Zachary Viteka points out. Yeah, he is, man. No doubt. So, what was his final stat line tonight? I don't know if he got any other helpers on any other goals, but there was that great stat where it's like through 4 periods of play, he already has 4 points. So Luke Hughes certainly living up to the billing there of that big contract that he signed. And listen, I don't think I was ever. I think there was obviously a concern for me that you know maybe he could go out to somewhat of a rusty start. Um, but for him, but it's in his blood, man. Quinn Hughes, he holds out a training camp in 2021, and he's almost a point per game player. Maybe we start to see Luke Hughes. Maybe Luke Hughes is better with rest. I don't know. Maybe it's just getting his legs fresh a little bit. But I saw another tweet out there tonight, and it was really this stood out to me as well. He, of all the guys that had their shoulder surgeries clean, that had shoulder surgery this summer, right? I think Luke looks the least rusty. And that between him and his brother, I'm not saying Jack looks rusty quite yet, because again, we're only 2 games into this thing. But Luke just looks really good to start the season. Basic guy again, the king of the Devils. Speaking of the Devils chat, I like the physicality early on. I did too. I mean, it was really testy at the beginning of the game. Someone can tell me in the live chat or not. Did these two teams have bad blood last year? Because I don't think I really watched the Tampa games last year. If they did, someone can let me know. But I thought it was eye opening to see both these teams get kind of testy, really from the opening whistle. That was interesting. Devils still did. Cranman says Devils still did what good teams do. Third period insurance goals. Absolutely, man. That Brack goal was the ultimate insurance goal, because that's the kind of punch that you want. Sorry, we're just getting caught up in the comments. A lot of comments today, guys. We love it. We love it. Okay. I think the key for this stream, for me to keep doing this, and for things to be good vibes this year, is for the Devils to keep winning, so that we have the most active comment sections as possible. Let's see. I don't think we've seen Jack all the way back yet. When he is, they're going to be scary. I agree with that, Daniel. Daniel Horowitz. I think there's obviously still a level that Jack can go. He gets the point last night, a couple nights ago, and I don't think he had any sort of point or assist or anything like that today. But he's a guy that once he kind of gets back into it, you got to remember, like he hasn't played a hockey game, and I think 200. I think the opening night was it was a 221-day rest for Jack Hughes, right? By all accounts, I think I mentioned this on the last stream. Everybody that I've spoken to gushes about Jack's shoulders just being stronger than ever, right? Like there's no concern there. They think the cleanup that was done at these surgeries, and then that he's had surgery now, that he's going to come back to, when he's back at form, he's going to come back to really to form. So I'm eager to see that. And I just hear that. Luke obviously bag skated himself. He mentioned that he bag skated himself this offseason in preparation for missing that training camp. But him and Jack, I'm sure Jack had a similar training regimen as him. Parker Wright says, I'm sorry, you cannot run two 35-year-olds until Yegorov is ready. We can't do it. Yeah, listen, the goalie situation, again, that's why I mentioned off the top there that I think that Fitzgerald should have second thoughts about, if you're going to extend Markstrom, maybe fine, but you got to, let this year play out a little bit. I thought it was eye-opening that Fitzgerald said at the press conference early on in training camp, he tipped his hand and said that they're in discussions for a new contract. And there's been reports ever since then pouring out that maybe this deal is getting closer. Maybe it's they're talking numbers, everything like that. Maybe it's just part of the negotiation, sure, but I think he should pump the brakes a little bit and see how this season plays out. Maybe because, as the other commenter mentioned, maybe this is just one of those slow starts for Markstrom, but I would certainly wait before giving him a lengthy, maybe not even lengthy, but a lucrative extension for sure. I hope they wait till the end of the season. Same thing here that Jin is saying. I hope they wait till the end of the season to extend Markstrom. Yeah, we just talked about that. Let's see. The problem is, damn it, Ivaldi. I don't know what you're exactly saying. The problem is, what are our alternatives unless we make a blockbuster trade or someone steps up? There's no 2026 free agents that are a better option. I'm assuming they're talking about Markstrom. I think there are fine enough options in the pipeline. I think Nico Dawes with some time, like every time Nico Dawes has been up, he's kind of been thrown into an insane situation, right? Like his rookie year, when he made his debut, he had the most wins out of any Devils goalie, and he was like 19 years old or something ridiculous like that. He was like 20 years old. He posted the most saves out of any goalie in an outdoor game history, and he was like 21 years old. Can this, so I think that Dawes can be good. Granted, his numbers in the AHL haven't exactly been up to snuff since then. I would give him, I don't have much pause giving him another shot because from what I've heard around the organization, they're still pretty bullish on him. So I'm not afraid of Nico Dawes kind of being the stopgap replacement until Yegorov is ready to come up. That's just me though. Guys, it's this is great. This is great. I love this from Andrew Kalor. Guys, it's still the second game. It's true. It's very true. Dire Wolf here says Markey was shaky, but Keefe had the boys ready to go tonight. Credit to him. Luke also off to a hot start. Nemo 2 points for Timo and Grits. Brat hitting 100 this year. Love your work, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dire Wolf. We talked about most of these guys. We haven't talked about Arseny Gritsuk yet. Okay. I think this is the opportunity for you guys in the live chat to just gush about Arseny Gritsuk. Okay. Compliment him, love him, give him as much love as he wants because this is a player who is proved tonight, and I think that he'll continue to prove it, that he is not a one-trick pony. I think a lot of the concern when you hear the scouting reports on this kid is he going to come over and just be is he going to be Alexander Holtz 2.0? That breaks my heart to say, but is he going to be Alexander Holtz 2.0? Right? And just be kind of that one-dimensional guy that is just a shot. No, Fitzgerald said it again. I'm going to reference that opening press conference again. He is a guy that was thicker than we all imagined. I think that was one of the things that I first noticed at training camp. And these assists, I think his patience impresses me the most. Right. With a player like that, because he still has that kind of shoot first mentality. You see that on the power play. You saw that on the power play, and in situations in the preseason. But for him to be patient, for him to drive down and get down the ice there, get towards the crease, and then slow down, and then find Connor Brown with a really, really impressive pass that got him right in front of the crease there, in front of a really good goalie in Vasilevsky, and for Brown to finish that off. It's just impressive all around. He's proving that he's, again, not that one-dimensional, one-trick pony guy that's just going to give you goals and put up a bunch of shots and then get out of the way. No, this is a guy that he gets in the dirty areas too, a lot more than I thought. He gets in those board battles too. I saw that a little bit in the preseason. Really impressed by Arseny Gritsuk. I'll say this, okay? I was going to say this for the newsletter, but we'll kind of say this now. From the first preseason game, from everybody that I speak to in that organization, everything they've said to me is that this kid is going to get his opportunity in the top 6, sooner than you think. Right. Now that could be just, first game preseason hype and everything like that. But I think that we're getting to the point with all these injuries piling up. Dadonov's out. Lord knows how long he's going to be out. And things are piling up. This is a team that needs some top 6 help. We always talk about the top 6 winger that this team needs, right? maybe it's on the roster already. Maybe we give Gritsuk just a chance, right? Just see what he can do in there. This was always the argument that I had with Holt, so maybe this will age poorly, but just give him a chance, plug him in there. Because right now, I mean, Palat and even Dadonov there, it just feels like patchwork, stopgap stuff that that runs the risk of anchoring things, right? Because on with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt on a line, that line should be your ultimate advantage, right? You should have a third guy there. I saw a great tweet today. Someone screenshotted Dmitry Filipovich's tweet where it's like that meme where it's like a horse drawing and half of it is beautiful, and then the final half of the painting is like a like a horse version of a stick figure. And then the tweet read, "This is what it's like when you have a line of Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Andre Palat." And I think Palat is in some ways he's almost becoming underrated because of because of how vitriolic the dialogue or the commentary around him can be sometimes. I think he does certain things right. He's just not a top six player, right? Like if he's on the third line, that's perfectly fine. You want him at a lower salary. There is no doubt about that. But as a third line player, he could be really good depth for this team. So this whole point of me saying all this is to say, get Gritsuk and give him a chance on the top line. Let's go back to the comments a little bit because we are running behind a little bit here. Sorry, just getting so excited talking about Arseny Gritsuk, baby. I'm really glad that he's working out well. And as Andrew mentions, a lot of season to go ahead. Let's see. Gritsuk had a solid game. What did you think about Markey's performance? Yeah, man. Again, as I said, really shaky, I think. Really shaky. I'd say from that second period of Carolina on, it's been a pretty poor start to the season for a guy that's trying to get an extension. Luke Hughes is on pace. The Cranman 85 says Luke Hughes is on pace for 164 assists this season. I say he has a deal. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll see if he gets there. Thoughts on McEwen? Yeah, man. No, McEwen right now. McEwen greater sign McDermott. Not that the standard was exactly the highest or anything, because McDermott was the human. He was just the boxer in your lineup that they paid millions of dollars or $1.15 million a year, and it was just sucking up cap space that you could have used on other things. Case in point, the Luke extension, like they had to trade him just to get under the books there. McEwen, I think better skater than I thought. By all the accounts, every report on him coming into this was that he was just going to be McDermott 2.0, right? Like he was just the tough guy to get. So that's why you do the tough guy to tough guy swap. Ottawa makes that trade because they get into that, they have that dramatic preseason game with the Canadians, and they want an even tougher guy in their lineup. So that doesn't happen again. But I think McEwen is definitely a better hockey player that certainly was not an anchor tonight. Like he's not a guy that like McDermott. Like there will be times where you look at the time on ice report after the game, and it's like, oh my god, he played like 2 minutes. What are we doing here? Why is he on the team? Why is he making $1.15 million? It's insane. Pesci putting his body in the line early on this season. Agreed, man. I mean, even last game, you see the fact that he blocks the shot with his kidney, basically. And then this game too, just getting out there and putting his body in the line. Really love it. All right, let's see. I think Tampa Bay is getting sick of getting Panthers, so they're trying to be them. It was weirdly aggressive towards there at the beginning of the game. They didn't know what the tensions were there. Zachary Viteka once again says, Nico looking strong out there, reverse hit and staying on his feet early on. Yeah, man. No, I had a note here. The way I take notes during the game is I'll do period by period note takeaways and everything like that, which I didn't really dive into tonight, but that's because the chat was so active. And I thank you guys for that. But then I do my big picture takeaways. Okay. So we'll kind of dive into those right now. We'll start with Nico. I mean, that first period, he was like just downright dominant, right? He set that Timo goal play single-handedly, drove through the slot, got a few shots up himself, but then Timo cleans it up. I thought again it was just a hell of an effort from that line, which I think needed a game like that. The second big picture takeaway I have for this team right now is crashing the net. Okay, you gotta love that they incorporated that in their play style tonight. From what I understand, again, I didn't watch every game last year, but I tuned in more than you think. The Devils stunk at that last year, and I remember specifically not noticing that at all during the Carolina series. That they never, went in, drove hard to the net. So I think this is a sign of a maturing team that they're finally crashing the net a little bit. Because I mean, it's simple, right? Like if you're a team that's already good at shooting, which the Devils are, why wouldn't you want to drive inside and make that shot closer, right? So if you can do it, which the Devils can, they can do it with one of two ways, right? Mostly they do it with their skill because they have a lot of rope-a-dope skill kind of players that can drive inside like that. But if you have a guy like Timo that can drive inside with pure grit, and Stefan Nason too is a good net front guy, and you can have players finish like that, you're just going to get a lot more goals this year. So I think if they can incorporate that in their game, I remember years ago, like it was like the Lindy system. It was just you kind of get into the offensive zone and you just chuck up shots pretty much, like even if it's from the perimeter or anything like that. Um, this I like the way that they've matured. I think this is a sign of the Devils growing up a little bit. Because when I last covered them, like they were still kind of that young, plucky upstart team. Now that there's expectations a little bit, you see these maturing signs, and I think there's two things here. I think it's they're maturing in that aspect, and they're feeding inside too. They have the players that can feed them inside. Jack Hughes is one of the best players at passing to dangerous areas in the league. G- Gritsuk proved tonight on his nice first assist to Connor Brown that he can dish it inside as well. So I know I really like the effort there. And other big picture takeaways. Timo I thought was superb tonight. The Markstrom point we went over and over again, and I just went over the why Gritsuk needs to be in the top six as well. This is a team that I think is bleeding for top six help. They're pleading for it right now. They need some Stefan Mason back. And even then, they got to go make a trade. All right, let's see. Let's look at more of the comments here. Let's see the Grizzly Bear, great nickname. Daniel Hurwitz, right? Novo Grits looks great out there. Okay, so Sharon Golvich, great name. He asks, any chance the Devils call up LaChance or Aminaho with that about a little bit? So from when I checked in on this today, because I was curious too, I thought we'd see a call up. I think there's a couple reasons limiting a call up right now. I think it's like the Devils didn't know exactly how long this Dadonov injury would be, so they didn't want to jump the gun and put him on IR immediately. And I think travel wise, it was just kind of a little tight window there. I excuse me, I just burped into the mic. I wouldn't be surprised. I think LaChance should probably get maybe the first call up because he's just looked so strong that start wise in Utica. But if you want maybe if you want to tweak with the bottom six or the middle six even, why not give Lenny a shot? I think this is a guy that has an underrated shot and a guy that can dish it as well. So we'll see. But I certainly think that one of those two will get the first call up. Obviously, they were like the last cuts of training camp. It was, I thought one of them would make the opening night roster. I thought LaChance would make the opening night roster. But yeah, certainly if this injury goes longer than we think it might, and I think that we just straight up might think it will be a little bit long here because I feel like we're so casually talking about a fractured hand here, but like it's a hand fracture, right? I know they're hockey players, but come on, that could sideline him for a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those two called up. Move Grits to power play one. We have not talked about the power play and how poorly it's been. All these Devils fans, okay, when I'm preparing my research, I'm doing my research to get up to speed with the season and everything like that. Everyone's like, "Oh, the power play was so great last year." What happened here? Why is it so stagnant to start? I'll tell you what. I mean, it's the I was gonna say the great Jimmy Nichols, but I'm gonna say the terrible slipping Jimmy Nichols put it best. Let me see. I had it written down somewhere here. Let me see. Um, hold on. Hold please. You guys are just gonna have to bear with me. Wow, great. This is great content, isn't it? Just me searching on my thing here. Um, they are so sloppy. James Nichols put it best. They are so sloppy with the puck at the blue line um, that it completely discombobulates the whole operation there. So I don't know what needs to happen. Maybe it is, moving Gritsuk to power play one to just to see, what he can do. But they're going to have to make some sort of tweak up there because it is not gelling so far here. I'm going to scroll to the bottom of the comments here just because we were so behind a little bit. But I thank you all for tuning in. We're going to wrap up here in a little bit. Here's Jimmy Nichols is in the chat. Hey, I hear you. Grits is so good. Thomas Gaune says. Robertson top six help. Yeah, I think that they would. I think that the Devils would love that. I would love that. That's the dream acquisition for the Devils. It would be amazing. Um, let's see. Peter Azarian says power play looks like we forced too much high risk plays. Teams like Prime Tampa always looked intentional, surgical, and made plays instead of just hoping. I completely agree with that. Yeah, that's a really good point. There's really not much else that needs to be said there. It's the Devils try to do too much. It's kind of been a problem for them for a number of years now, but obviously last year it gelled with them a little bit more. You know what? I'll even say this: see what Dougie can do up there. Like maybe swap them a little bit. Maybe Luke. Maybe you get Dougie's shot back on the power play, and it works. But I don't know. You're gonna have to shake that unit up somehow. Whether that's Gritsuk, whether that's Dougie, whether that's figuring that out. We'll see. But yeah, as Zachary Viteka says right there, wish we moved the puck better on the power play. Certainly, man. And just as Peter makes that really good point there. Let's see. We're going to take a couple more here, and then we're going to wrap up. This is pretty far in the future. Dime Season says this is pretty far in the future, but Nico extension ideas, what it could possibly look like. Oh man, you know what? I don't even want to get into extension talk right now because the Kaprizov extension just messed everything up. Like I feel like everybody's numbers are like so the Kaprizov thing messed everything up, and then the McDavid thing messed it up even more. I'll say it like this: I talked to Nico about his extension earlier in camp. He is, he's pretty, like I think interview wise, he's a little quieter. He is smart. He's not going to reveal that, oh, like, I'm thinking about extension and let me give the Devils all the leverage. So when I asked him, he said, no, I'm not thinking about it. Right. But he kind of did it in a coy, like, yeah, like I'm not thinking about it. Obviously, like you schlub reporter, don't ask me this. Like, what are you doing? You're trying to get your clicks. But you kind of like I've been thinking about. I think the Nico thing has been everybody's talking about this Quinn extension and stuff like that, and Quinn's looming free agency, which is in 2 years. I just feel like we should start talking about all these 2027 free agents because like it's an interesting topic to discuss, especially with the captain of the team. I will say this though, he loves New Jersey. He loves playing for the Devils. He is more motivated to win this year than I've seen him in any year. Every player wants to win. There's that's obvious, but this guy, he every single time we talk to him, he just repeats the same sentence over and over again, and that's we need to take the next step. We need to take the next step. He slides it into a lot of quotes. Notice it now. You'll maybe notice it now. Like he slides it into a lot of quotes there, at least early on in training camp. He did. Let's see. Let's wrap it up here. Sean Skinner, Novo Goat. Thank you, Sean. You're the man. Great last name, too. I know another great Skinner out there. Gregory Hughes. Oh, the uncle of the great Jets reporter and Giants reporter, Connor Hughes. No relation to the Hughes bros. Nemec had an up-and-down game, looked better in the third. Agreed, man. I think just overall this season, he's had a rough go of it. The Nemec-Dillon pairing, I'm not crazy about. I know you kind of have to just kind of make it work until Kovacevic comes back. I'm ready to see where's that playoff Nemec. Bring him back. He has a chance here, man. I'm telling you, because like when there are log jams like this, the player, especially the younger player, has to force his way into it, right? you see it sometimes, right? Like players that for like I'm going to give you a football example. But Mac Jones right now, okay? Brock Purdy goes down, Mac Jones balls out for the 49ers, and people are talking about him potentially usurping Brock Purdy on the depth chart. Nemec needs to be the Mac Jones there, obviously without the bust implications, because I don't think Nemec is a bust. But make his job a living hell, man. Like make Sheldon Keefe's job hell, trying to decide, hey, do we keep Kovacevic in, or what do we do here? Because we have this Simone Nemec thing that's completely boomed here. So yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting discussion there at the end, whenever Kovacevic is eventually back. All right. Well, we are going to wrap that up on that note. Thank you all for tuning in. We did 35 minutes here on a Devils win again, 5-3 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was, up and down, peaks and valleys game, but I think that fans will certainly take the first win of the season. Guys, we will be back at it. Let me just see when the Devils play next. I think they play. Oh, that's me, and that's my audio right there. I think they play the Columbus Blue Jackets on the road on Monday. So right after that game, I will not be in Columbus. Right after that game, we're going live right here again. Please join in. Come, get your voices out there. Rant about the team, rant about me, anything you want to do. Just be right here. Speaking of the Devils, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you then. Bye-bye.